This is the High School Football America podcast for April the 26th, 2023. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability, faster speed than Huddle Sideline. Plus, GameStrat has awesome customer service along with different plans priced right for every coach's budget. To get a demo, go to GameStrat.com or you can click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of High School Football America. All right, it's that time of year. April, springtime, spring football in the air, but we're going to be talking fall football today with a guy that always comes on the High School Football America podcast at this time of the year, a dear friend of mine, Joe Maimone of Gridiron Logistics, the guy that's been putting together some of the top national matchups. You're coming up on a decade there, Joe, and he's here to talk about the big interstate matchups, something he is specialized in with his company for the past 10 years or so, and he's here to talk about the best of the best of the best. Joe, always good to have you on the line here. I'm excited because I've got the list in front of me. I'm not going to spoil anything. You got some good games that you want to talk about.
Yeah, Jeff, always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for the acknowledging. You know, we're in our 8th year doing what we do. We started in 2015. I had one client, Don Bosco Prep, and now we have over 400 clients that we do this for. So, out of the hundreds of games we put together on an annual basis, we're going to review around the top 20 to 22 today.
That's awesome. And just for people that don't know about your company, you kind of summed it up a little bit there. But, you know, along the way, right, like High School Football America, if you do things right, you get noticed. And a couple of years ago, you got noticed by Flow Football. So talk about that relationship before we get into the games.
Yeah, a few years ago, Flow Sports contacted me. They're the largest streamer of amateur athletics in the world. They have a bunch of channels per sport. And the best games that I put together at PGL, we save and we broadcast on the Flow Football channel. This year we're going to have probably around 30 games when all is said and done, mostly in August, September. We have a 4-year contract with them. We're going into year 3. First 2 years have been prosperous, and we're hoping that the next 2 are, that we can continue to grow the game of high school football at the most elite levels and have Flow help us do that.
No, it's a great partnership. You guys have I've seen a lot of the games. I subscribe to Flow and get to check them out. I mean, really, if you're a football fan, right, Joe, and you can sit in your living room or in front of your computer wherever you are in the world and watch some of the best play the best, it doesn't get any better than that, that's for sure. So let's, without further ado, get into the games that you think are in that, as you said, top 20, top 22 range. And unlike in years past, if you've listened to Joe here, we've kind of done like a top 10 and we went 10, 9, 8. We're just going to look at all the good ones because there's a long list. So, Joe, however you want to do it, the platform's yours, and I'll butt in here when I've got 2 cents to throw in.
All right, Jeff, we're going to do it by week. In the past, we've kind of ranked the games from, number 1 to 15 and went from 15 down to 1. We're going to do it chronologically in date order. So August 18th, Friday night, we got a good one. We have St. Francis from Maryland, who's going to be definitely a top 5 preseason team in every poll. That's worthwhile anyway. They're going to be going to Buford to play the Buford Wolves.
Did you do that for me, so I only have to drive a half hour?
A little bit. Buford will play anybody anywhere, as you know. They wanted to make a statement, and they're starting their season off with a preseason top 5 team, like they should. The last time St. Francis was in the state of Georgia, they played Lee County down in South Georgia. What was that? Probably 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So this is going to kick off our Flow football season. It's a great game to kick off.
Hey, let me ask you a question about St. Francis, because I know we're going to have them several times on here, and we talked about this in the past when you've been on the show. Has your job gotten easier or harder when it comes to trying to find opponents for the Panthers?
It's gotten. Remember early on, it was hard because their conference foes at the last minute decided they didn't want to play them and were going to forfeit every game if they were forced to. That year was tough because we had a month to put everything together, me and Coach Poggi. Now it's gotten easier. As of right now, I think they have 10 games scheduled with a bunch still available in the month of October. So if all goes well, they could have 10 or 12 games, which will be the most they've had in the last 3 or 4 years. But, with a team like them, whether they play 7 regular season games or 11, we all know how good they are, so it's really not going to affect them in the rankings.
Yeah, I'm still getting crap last year on putting them ahead of IMG, but the algorithm had them ahead of IMG, even though the Ascenders beat them. So anyway, but I got broad shoulders.
Yeah, and Jeff, once their schedule comes out, once it's finalized, you're going to see in the history of high school football, the St. Francis 2023 schedule will be the toughest ever. There's no doubt about it. I've already previewed it to a few people. There is no doubt that this schedule is the toughest in the history of the game of high school football. Now, they're taking a real chance. I mean, I know they're going to be really, really good, but there are 6 games on this schedule where, if they go 6-0, they're the national champs right now. I can tell you that if they go 6-0 in these 6 games. However, if they go 0-6, they're going to have to deal with it and then figure it out for next time, because it's never been done before. And when you see it on paper, you're going to shake your head like the rest of us are. But I love that they're testing themselves. Our moniker at PGL is play the best, anyone, anywhere, and no cowards allowed. They are doing all 3 of that. They are doing all 3 of those hashtags.
New York, New Jersey comes out in Joe Maimone every time he's on the line here. And just so you know, folks, St. Francis Buford, that is a flow game, correct, Joe?
It is. It kicks off the flow season on Friday, August 18th.
Okay, flow football.
Next game also on that same day. Yeah. Next game also on that date, that Friday the 18th, we have IMG visiting Lipscomb Academy in Nashville, which is going to be a good one. Lipscomb Academy took the world, high school football world by storm last year, got into the top 10 in several polls. They do lose their head coach, Trent Dilfer, who's now at UAB. But guess what? They replaced him with a Hall of Fame football player in Kevin Mawai.
real step. But it's funny to see that. But again, carrying on in the tradition that Trent was starting, right, which is playing anybody anywhere, and obviously had some people that didn't want to play him. I know when you took me over to him last year during the game down here, where was it? Over in Milton, I guess. I got to. That was
Milton. They beat Milton last year at home.
Yeah, but the tradition continues, meaning the Mustangs want to play good programs, and I guess that one right there is a good way to kick off the season.
Exactly. Yeah, Lipscomb Academy and Nashville, Tennessee, will always be a desirable destination for teams to come in for all the right and just reasons. They do a great job down there.
No doubt about it. Keep it going, because that 18th, 19th schedule that I'm looking at here is gets you salivating for football.
Yeah, and again, that those 2 games are going to be on Flow Football. Those 2 games are going to be at the same time, so you could be watching both, one on your computer, one on your phone at the same time. Also, that date we have another good West Coast game. One of the most fearless public high school football programs in America, Corona Centennial, is going to be at Bishop Gorman, which is a great West Coast game. Going on to Saturday, the next day, we have that highly anticipated battle of high school football brands up in Northeast Ohio. You have Valdosta, Georgia, I believe now is the first-ranked all-time team in the high school football wins versus number 4th in that category, Massillon.
That
So
doesn't get
that's a
much
good game,
better
too.
than that. I mean, when you talk about pure American high school football, that sums it up right there. I mean, I can't wait to see how that one turns out. And gotten to know Coach Moore quite well at Massillon. I always try to call it Massillon, but I know it's Massillon, Washington. But man, has he carried on the tradition there? I love and he has that attitude you have, right? Let's play some people.
Yeah, and Jeff, they're on this list twice, and you don't see many public schools on this list twice when we do this every April. And shout out to Coach Moore. He's a Dayton Flyer just like yours truly, so I'll always appreciate him for that. Go Flyers.
Yeah, and if you've never seen Paul Brown Tiger Stadium, folks, drive by it. Even if you can't get in, if you're just in the Massillon area, that's what I did. I just drove around it and enjoying the history of high school football. It doesn't get any better than that, and I know I'm talking to the choir there with the Ohio boy on the other line here.
Yeah, and Jeff, in my opinion, we between you and I, we've probably been to thousands of high school football stadiums in our lives. The two that stick out to me the most are that one, Paul Brown Stadium, and then down Southwest Ohio in Ironton, Tanks Memorial Stadium is a beautiful stadium. It it's like going back in time. I mean, these are fields like this is where Red Grange took a handoff on these fields, and in Ironton.
That is so
these
cool.
are some historic fields, and that's why every year we do a high school football event in Ironton, because I want everybody to learn the rich history of Tanks Memorial Stadium down in Ironton too.
Yeah, Tanks is on my kind of bucket list. I've never been there. I've seen the photographs, and I probably next year when you do your event there, I need to make a trek up to the Buckeye State. But keep it rolling, because I like the next one you have on the list here.
Yeah, next one again. We started last year a special high school football event down in South Georgia. Last year was called the Georgia-Florida Challenge, because those were the two states involved. This year it's called Georgia-Carolina, and the main event of that event, Saturday night, the 19th of August, we're going to have Dutch Fork from South Carolina visiting Colquitt County. Which is another great flow game.
Oh, it's a great one. And you know what I love about that, Joe, and kind of, a little behind the scenes for the people listening here on the High School Football America podcast is, when you and I first kind of connected, you gave me your, the high school football world according to Joe Maimone philosophy. and basically what that entailed, folks, was him looking at my rankings and going, Fisher, what do you mean so-and-so's here? They're not playing anybody outside of the state. I don't want to name names, but what I see in a Dutch Fork, that may have been one of the teams you were questioning there, and man, have you gotten them to, with Coach Knotts there, ramp up that schedule. That's just a good one to see, and I know they've got others on the schedule this year, but it's kind of neat, isn't it? I mean, you're shaping high school football in a way, and I know you eat, sleep, and drink it.
Yeah, Jeff, you know what? You're exactly right. 3-4 years ago when we first met, I would always complain about these good teams that are highly, highly ranked every year with a really soft strength of schedule. Dutch Fork was one of them. I used to, it's all my battles on Twitter with these fan bases are world famous. So, but that was one of them. And then Coach Knotts last year, he said, Joe, you know what? I want to play St. Francis. And he hosted St. Francis. Was a really good game. And again, this year we talked, and I said, hey, I have an opportunity for you. Remember, those games are hard to come by in that week. Mm-hmm. Most of America aren't playing that week of August 18th and 19th. So there's only like 6 or 7 states I could draw from for these events. And he said, you know what, let's do it again. I enjoyed playing St. Francis last season. It made us better. We went on to win the state. And he's taken on the Colquitt County Packers. That's going to really be a really good game and a good test. Remember, they hosted St. Francis last year at home. They're on the road, and Colquitt County on the road is not an easy place to play for any team.
Yeah, you gotta practice swatting gnats below the gnat line. That's part of the pregame you got to do. No, and Coach Knotts, for people that don't know, I mean, this man is a legend. 400+ wins, all those wins at Independence in North Carolina. That 109 game win streak. He's now won 6 out of the last 7 big classification titles in South Carolina. I mean, this guy's. It doesn't matter what state he's from. He is good. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, and he saw the value of again. He didn't in the past. They have played out of state. They went to Allen probably 8 or 10 years ago and gave him a scare there, but it wasn't happening annually, and hopefully it will continue to be, because the high school football world outside of South Carolina deserves to see his team play. They're very good.
They are. And, you brought something up there a few minutes ago that I want to go back to, and I just want your opinion on that, because I've been professing this for years with the big states. And we can argue whether it's 10 or 12 or whatever the number is, but we can all name them, right? The big high school football states. Do you think we're moving toward a point? I mean, I was surprised when California moved back their start date. I guess that was last year they started that. I mean, do you see those big states maybe moving toward that week earlier, so maybe the job of finding the matchups isn't as hard? What's your take on it?
I've seen the opposite, basically. Especially the state of Florida, you could always count on Florida in that week 0, to always have some good games. Like last year, you remember I had American Heritage go to Lowndes last year on that weekend. Mm-hmm. Then the FHSAA said, you know what? That's our official kickoff classic week. No team is allowed to leave the state anymore.
Yep.
So that it's making it tougher for a scheduler like me, a promoter, to put together really good games that week. We were lucky because Dutch Fork needed something, and as Colquitt did. But I'm actually telling more event organizers to stay away from that week and do it either the following week or Labor Day weekend, because they're much easier I have a bigger pool of teams to find to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And by the way, I'm going to get on my little soapbox here for all the people when the preseason rankings come out in a little bit. I have I'll name him by name, Coach Peacock down at Venice, who always gets on me about the Kickoff Classic in Florida, and it doesn't count. And the reason it doesn't count, folks, is because not all Kickoff Classics in the state of Florida are created equally. Yes, some are played as a real game, some are just played as scrimmages, and some are a variation of whatever. So that's why they don't count. I don't even know if you know that, Joe, but I get that every year. And Coach Peacock, who a couple of years ago beat Northwestern, said, well, we beat him. I said, you beat him in a kickoff classic, and we've had a rule since the beginning that no kickoff classic is put into the strength of schedule. So once they figure out, if they do it all the same, if there's a universal, this is the way it is, it's a full game, we'll take another look at that and take a different approach.
Jeff, it was funny on, like yourself, I have a website too, a fan site called nationalhighschoolfootball.com. And I'll never forget a couple of years ago in a scrimmage, in that KOC scrimmage, Columbia, down in Florida, claimed they beat IMG.
I
and they
remember
were going
that.
nuts trying to promote that they beat IMG in a kickoff classic like it was, winning the Super Bowl. And I did the same thing as you. I said, just stop it. It's not a win. It's a scrimmage. Play them in the regular season, and then let's have this conversation.
Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox and let you go back to your list. I just had to say it because at some point it's going to come up, and I'm going to have to do it. So at least I'm on the record on April, whatever today is, the 26th.
Right. Same here. I'm with you. We're on the same side of these things. That doesn't happen that often, buddy. We're on the same. We agree with something.
It's going to snow in Georgia today. No, I'm just teasing. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yep. All right. So next weekend, Friday, August 25th, we have a great matchup of regional power privates. We have Good Counsel from Maryland going into play St. Edward in Cleveland, which is a good game. I love when the privates play each other. That's another pet peeve of mine. When I appreciate when privates when publics like Miami Central will play a great private like IMG last year. But it's great when they do that. But when a private chooses to play a public over an elite private, that annoys me. And this is a good one. 2 regional power privates. Good Counsel is going to be the preseason number 1 in the WCAC. St. Ed's will be the top parochial in Ohio, so this is an awesome game. The following day, we just talked about this at our event in Ironton, Ohio. We have a triple header that day. The main event has DeMatha also from Maryland, taking on Springfield, Ohio, Mo Douglas's team.
I love Mo. Coach Mo is a good guy. We've had him on High School Football America. I mean, class act.
Yep. And you being a Dayton guy, that Springfield program when I was in college, they were even good back then. And then Coach Douglas, was a great player that came out of that area. And we love highlighting Ohio on Flow when we can. It's a selfish goal that I have every year to show the rest of the world how good that those Southwest Ohio teams are.
And he did it at Trentwood Madison. It's not like he's
exactly.
When you do it at a couple of different schools, your name gets into the elite category, in my estimation.
Right. Yep. So Jeff, now we're on to August 26th. So in my opinion, again, this could be the best day of high school football in the history of the sport. If you look at the games that are taking place that day, Saturday, August 26th. We just went over the Matha at Springfield. Okay, now let's look at that night. What high school football fans around America are going to be able to watch and choose to watch? All right, drum roll here.
I don't have one, but go ahead.
Saturday afternoon, St. Francis, who we spoke about already, at Chaminade Madonna. Both of those teams should be preseason top fives in most polls. Okay, that's that game. Now, following that game, later on that day at St. Thomas Aquinas, you have St. John Bosco, your 2022 national champs, at St. Thomas Aquinas. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, after that game, same area in Fort Lauderdale, American Heritage, we have St. John's from Washington, D.C., playing at American Heritage. Okay? Let's keep going.
I love it. Keep going.
That night, that day also, up in New Jersey, South Jersey, Ocean City, New Jersey, at a high school football event, Battle at the Beach. You also have an IMG playing St. Joe's Prep. So let's just look at those last, the entire game, those 5 games, but the last 4, St. Francis Chaminade, Bosco Aquinas. All of those 4 teams are going to be in the top 5 in America that day. When's the last time that's ever happened?
No.
Never, I'm telling you. That night, St. John's Heritage, great game.
Can I just say one thing? What you just said there, it was a mouthful, because basically what you're doing is sorting out the national championship chase on August the 26th.
Exactly. And remember, Buford, St. Francis plays Buford 7 nights before. So it's going to start shaping itself out from week 0, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you're right. This is why what we do. This is why we started this company 8 years ago. So at the end of the season, there really isn't no poll is ever going to be exactly the same because there's just so many teams. But the top 1 or 2 teams should be well known by everybody involved. So this weekend's going to get that job done, and I'm excited for it. Never been excited for a weekend like this. I don't even know where I'm going to be that weekend. There's so many choices. I'll probably be in Fort Lauderdale for that Broward versus the USA event because 3 of those 5 games are there. So it's exciting, and glad to be a part of the Broward versus USA event. Kevin Perry and Sean Serra that run that event are the best in the business by far.
It's a great weekend. Keep going.
Yeah. Then the following Thursday, all right, this game was recently added. Thursday, August 31st. IMG again. We've spoken. This is their 3rd game on this list. Remember, they start at Lipscomb Academy, then they play at a neutral site in New Jersey, St. Joe's Prep out of Philly. And then 5 days later, they go from Saturday to Thursday. They're in Thompson, Alabama, to play the number 1 team in Alabama, Thompson, Mark Freeman's team.
I love it. And I thought I had to rub my eyes when that was released. I think Thompson released it several days ago. And I looked at that thing for IMG, going so quickly and all that. And, the other thing, you and I met last year in Milton, and we were real interested to see what Buford did against Thompson, a battle of 3-time state champs, right? Thompson is now 4. They started 0-2. But what I remember the most about that game was the 8th grader that came in for Coach Freeman,
the quarterback,
who just, by the way, made our High School Football America Academic All-America team. And it's still funny when I had to type in that he's class of 2027. There's not many of them. It's a good one.
Yeah, he was thrown into the fire. And by week 14, he was probably the best quarterback in the state of Alabama. So it worked for him, worked for them. And again, remember we talked about some of the public teams back in the day that I'd always give you grief. Why they rank so high? Their strength of schedule is soft. Thompson was right there with Dutch Fork when I was arguing with you about it. And look what they've done the last 2 years.
And folks, he's cleaning this up for the podcast. The word is not grief, but go ahead, Joe. Keep going.
But you know what? It's working. It's working. These teams are finally starting to see that you could be ranked higher with one quality loss than you would be being undefeated at the end of the season. Correct. So they're getting it, which is great. IMG Thompson. And funny, not many people know this. Thompson was originally playing Lipscomb that weekend. They dropped Lipscomb to play IMG. How cool is that?
That's pretty cool. I love Coach Freeman. Again, he's kind of like in that Coach Tom Knott's area, a guy that's been in Alabama all this long and has a lot of state championships, not just at Thompson. I mean, class act and not afraid to play anybody now.
Yeah, exactly. We're truly blessed that Thompson has become a real good client of ours. All right, let's keep going here. We have that Saturday now, a Labor Day weekend. St. Francis again, all right, at East St. Louis. East St. Louis every year holds a really great classic called the Gateway Scholars Classic. They raise a lot of money that weekend. It's a doubleheader event. Sometimes it's a tripleheader event. But the main event is St. Francis at East St. Louis. Now let's review again. Let's look at St. Francis' schedule so far. Open up against Buford, then Chaminade Madonna, and now East St. Louis.
All on the road, by the way.
All on the road. So let's keep note of that. Remember, last year we had these two teams play in Canton, Ohio, and St. Louis was about 45 seconds. East St. Louis was about 45 seconds away from upsetting the number one team in America. And then Michael Buchanan did what he does, and they won the game in the last minute.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a great game. Excited for it. East St. Louis is one of the most fearless public school schedulers out there.
They might be the best at doing it. I would venture to say that.
Yeah, they bring a lot of fans. I remember last year they brought a lot of fans to Canton, Ohio. Thompson. Remember how many fans Thompson had at that Freedom Bowl event?
Yep.
They had they filled up the whole away side of the stands. So these are programs that travel well. Their fan bases are rabid, and we love to have them on flow. They make us look good. All right, following weekend, Friday, September 8th, Bergen Catholic, the preseason number one in New Jersey, at Chaminade Madonna. So now let's look at Madonna's schedule. They open up with St. Francis, followed by Bergen Catholic. That great Florida versus Jersey game, no?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan. Well, I'm a big fan of the Campanile family. Let's put it that way. But Coach Vito, and I had a conversation about who to play. I mean, he thinks a little bit about that national championship chase, right? And I said, well, if you're going to want to be in that conversation, you need to play somebody good. And I knew you already had been looking at that one. So that I love that matchup. And it also helps Chaminade Madonna too, because as you and I know, when they get into district play, they kind of go from playing the best in the world to teams that we end up with 70-0 results. Again, not blasting the teams they're playing, but Chaminade Madonna, to keep in that national championship conversation, needs games like this, right?
Yeah, and again, you saw what happened last year. Their schedule was not that great leading up to their conference schedule, and then they won every game by an average of 63 probably there. And then they go to Gorman and get their doors blown off. So this is a great those first two games, St. Francis and BC, are gonna if they win those two, they're starting in the top 5. There's no doubt. We'll see with everything shaken up above them, with the St. Francis games and St. John Bosco games versus Aquinas. I mean, there's going to be a lot of shifting going on the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. For people tuning in right now, talking with Joe Maimone, Prep Gridiron Logistics. He's not just some guy I found on the street today to talk. He's been putting together these big national matchups for a while, and we're going through what he believes are the best in 2023. And we're still in that first week of September, Labor Day.
We are. September 8th. This is a historic game. Some people might say, Joe, it doesn't belong on this list. It's definitely not a top 20 game, but it's historic. You know the dumbest rules in high school football as far as out-of-state scheduling have always come down to two states. The state of Michigan and the state of Indiana had the worst rules when it comes to what they permit their teams, who they permit their teams to play. Indiana relinquished those rules so they can play anybody they want now, which is unbelievable. So Ben Davis steps up and says, we want to play IMG on the Flow Football Channel. I said, sure, let's do it. So this game is a great game. IMG going to Indianapolis to play Ben Davis.
And you and I know, and again, this was one of those ones we always talked about, but the Metropolitan Interscholastic Athletic Conference, or the MIC, I should call it, and it's changed a little bit with Carmel and Center Grove dropping out, but they've got some great football, and Ben Davis has great tradition, and that place is going to be rocking. IMG comes to town, that's like putting a bullseye on the Ascenders. I think I like that game, and again, why I like the game? Because it goes a step toward beginning to have the conversation be a little bit more rational, right? Well, this state's better than this state, and that state's better than this state, and blah, blah, blah. Now that we've got these people going across the country and playing each other, it starts to settle things in, right? And again, you don't give me any, let's see, what'd you say, grief? Crap. We'll use crap. We'll clean it up.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana. This will, with Ben Davis playing IMG now with the daisy chains with who Ben Davis could play later in the year in Cathedral and Center Grove and Carmel. I mean, it all makes sense. It makes better sense for us pollsters now. And now let's look at IMG. Okay, let's look at their first four games. You have at Lipscomb Academy, you have neutral versus St. Joe's Prep. Really a home game for Prep. That's only about 45 minutes from Philly. IMG at Thompson. And now IMG at Ben Davis. It's unbelievable. I mean, again, I still think when all said and done, St. Francis is going to have a little bit of an edge in toughness of the schedule, but IMG is the sure number two in hardest schedules in 2023.
Hard to argue.
So next, later that night, finally, Jeff, we finally have a team from Texas on this list. Atascocita, thank you, Atascocita, for being the only team in the state of Texas stepping up in 2023 to play a legitimate quality out-of-state team in East St. Louis. Battle of power publics from respective states, Illinois versus Texas. This is going to be a good one, Jeff.
Yeah, no doubt. And Atascocita there in the the Houston area has had trouble getting past North Shore, but with the change at the top with John Kay out at North Shore, it'll be interesting. I'm sure the Mustangs are going to be tough, but I have a feeling the Eagle fans there will be interested. And again, East St. Louis, have bus will travel.
Exactly. They'll go anywhere. Coach Sunkett's a Jersey guy. I don't know if you know that. He's from Camden, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So he knows how to get his teams ready. Again, played St. Francis last year, lost in the last minute. He said, Joe, I want to play him again. Bring him to our Gateway Classic. We're doing that. And then let's 6 nights later go play in Houston, Texas in the beginning of September in weather that most people could not survive.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's one of those teams that through the years has found its way definitely into the top 100. They've been top 50 at times for us in the algorithm, and the only thing preventing them from being a little bit higher is, with all due respect to Illinois, which has some great football, in the Catholic leagues in and around Chicago. The run to a championship usually isn't that hard, so they get hurt in the strength of schedule. But if they're kept in the top 100 because they play those first couple of games, against really, really top quality opponents. And again, not afraid to go on the road. They went to Bosco how many years ago, right?
Exactly. Exactly. They played everybody. I mean, Miami Central. I mean, IMG. They, you know, they will play anybody. They don't care, and they always they always compete well.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
No doubt. No doubt.
So, but what I'm disappointed in this year is, over the last few years, teams like Allen, DeSoto, Duncanville have stepped up to play really, really elite competition. IMG, St. Francis, Mater Dei, St. John Bosco. Unfortunately, it's not happening this year, and that's disappointing. I was talking with DeSoto about possibly playing a good Florida team on Labor Day weekend. That fell through. So I'm sorry to say this is the best interstate matchup involving a Texas team, which is sad. They used to have 3 or 4 games in this top 20 list, and this year they only have 1. So kudos again for Atascocita for stepping up. This is going to be a solid game. So that being said, let's go to the best game of that September 8th weekend. Now,
I think this could be a solid game. I think you could call this next one on your list a solid game.
Yeah. So let's we've already talked about Bergen Catholic at Madonna, really good game. IMG Ben Davis, fine. East St. Louis at Atascocita, great. The main event that night in the Trinity League versus the USA event that Jason Negro started a few years ago with our help. St. Francis, once again, the Panthers will be playing at St. John Bosco in Bellflower, California. What do you think about that?
No, that is just great. I go back to when what was that? Was it the first year of the Trinity League versus USA, the Mater Dei St. Francis matchup? I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And my feelings about Jason Negro. He was our coach of the year last year. He's as nice a person and good a person as he is a football coach. And for all the people that want to say, well, he's got all this and he's got all that there, they were nothing before he got there. That's his alma mater. He's done a great job. I don't think it gets any better than that. I just want to know the frequent flyer mileage for St. Francis at this point.
I know. Let's review those games again. Okay, let's go to week 0. St. Francis at Buford. Then we have St. Francis at Madonna in Lauderdale. Then we have St. Francis at East St. Louis in Illinois. And now we have St. Francis at St. John Bosco. So you're seeing what I'm seeing here. You're seeing, and that's not even the toughest game, in my opinion. None of those are the toughest game that St. Francis is going to have this year. We'll talk about that a little later. So yeah, that's September 8th. That's September 8th. Is it as good as August 26th? Maybe not, but it's a sliver behind it, really. So that's a great weekend as we come out of we enter mid-September. So let's start off with Friday, September 15th. Again, some people might think this doesn't belong, but I think it does.
I do.
Because of the head coach of Glenville, Ted Ginn Sr. What he accomplished last year, winning a state title. I think it was 14 or 15-0 when all said and done. Going to Bradenton to play at IMG.
I love it, and Coach Ginn is just, man, and he might be a better track and field coach than he is a football coach, and he's damn good at being a football coach. But I think that is absolutely fantastic. They were the first public league team out of Cleveland, right? I mean, that's no small task. And maybe you have the answer, maybe you don't on this, but Glenville's schedule this year overall has really ramped up. It's got to do its public school stuff, but Coach Ginn kind of said, I want to take this show on the road, I think.
Right, and like we talked about with those other teams, they know when you play IMG, win or lose, they're going to expose some flaws, and then you'll be able to watch the film, figure out where you need to adjust things, and then go win your state and win another state championship. Every game they play after that September 15th game is going to feel like a JV game. Mm-hmm. You know that. You've seen how IMG's been loading up in the offseason with transfers. That's going to be a game to see how good we really are, and then let's fix what we need to fix, and then win the state of Ohio and be another state champion. There's nothing wrong with being a state champion and having a loss. More and more teams are starting to grasp that as their quest to be a national champ or to be highly ranked in a poll like yours and mine, they see that it's okay to have a one blemish versus an elite team.
Hey, can I rib you, Joe? Can I rib you a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
I remember
Rib
several
me,
years ago you were giving me some crap about one-loss teams winning national championships. I'm just saying. I remember that.
Just remember, hey, bud, just remember it didn't happen last season. Just remember. So yeah, I agree with you. If the top 8 teams in America have a loss, obviously I'm not going to jump an undefeated team with a lower strength of schedule. But that's a whole other conversation about last year. But
I just had but yeah,
fun. I get it. I get it. This with all these games happening, this could be the year where yours truly crowns a one-loss team as national champion. All right, here's the game we've been talking about. The contract was just signed a few days ago. It's not really public until right now. It's that team again, but this time they're at home for the first time of the year. St. Francis Panthers on Friday, September 22nd, will be hosting. Yes, I said hosting. Mm-hmm. They don't host a lot of home games.
No, they do not.
The Monarchs of Mater Dei, California. Mater Dei at St. Francis on September 22nd in Baltimore, Charm City.
That's incredible. And again, it's, for those of you just tuning in and you didn't hear Joe's statement at the top about St. Francis's schedule, if you don't believe by now it's the toughest one in the nation, this one's kind of the cherry on the sundae.
Yeah, it is. It is. This happened for a lot of great reasons. I mean, it's fate. A lot of things shifted. People had games they thought they were going to have, and it ended up getting canceled. And when all said and done, I look down, I keep a tracker of the top teams all around America. I call it my national scheduling matrix. And I keep a tracker. So I went to the column on 922 and I hit enter, and 2 teams came up that were looking for games. And it was St. Francis and Mater Dei. So I called Coach Rollinson, hooked him up with Coach Masai, and boom, they got together. It's a home-and-home series, which means St. Francis goes out to Mater Dei in 2024 and plays. So how great is that? These are the games that should be happening at the top. The only entity preventing this from happening is the CIF, who won't allow Mater Dei and St. John Bosco to play IMG with that ridiculous academy rule. But these games should be happening each and every year. Bosco and Mater Dei should be playing IMG, St. Francis, St. Thomas Aquinas, Chaminade Madonna. It should be happening annually, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail, and they'll get rid of that academy rule in California. So they're the top 2 teams in Cali could truly be tested each and every year outside of their own Trinity League schedule.
And the bottom line is, and this comes down to it, and I talked to Bruce and Jason about this, time and time again. I know you have. I mean, they have trouble filling out their non-league schedule. I mean, period, the end. I don't think there's anything else to be said for that, and that would go a long way to help. And let's face it, these young men, deserve to. If it's a 10-game regular season schedule in the state, they deserve to play that, and that's one way of moving toward that. I mean, everybody can have their opinion on IMG. I have mine. I don't usually express it, but they are playing football. They are playing publics and privates around the country. Let them go at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and kudos to them who play them, like Thompson. Thompson is playing them at home, win or lose. They're not going to drop in our rankings because they lost to IMG. If anything, we might move them up if they compete favorably. Do you remember when Auburn, Alabama played IMG a few seasons ago? I think they only lost by like 12 or 14 points. We pollsters boosted them up after that game. They didn't go down. So no, it's all good. Like I said, the top 5 teams in America. The top 5 privates. We're talking Bosco, Mater Dei, Aquinas, St. Francis, IMG. Those 5 really need to start playing each other on an annual basis with home-and-home series. There's only 2 teams in America, Jeff, next season that are playing both Mater Dei and St. John Bosco. We know the one, St. Francis. You know who the second one is? There's another team playing both.
Playing both. Boy.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint.
Go ahead.
They almost beat St. Francis last year, and the game ended at almost 4 a.m.
Why am I drawing a blank? I wasn't ready for a quiz, Joe.
Begins with a K, and they're in Hawaii.
Kahuku.
Kahuku, like St. Francis, Kahuku is playing both. They're hosting Bosco, and they're traveling to Mater Dei. How cool is that?
Wow, did not know that. Boy, folks,
Yep.
you've gotten about 45 minutes worth of knowledge here for 2023, and we're almost at the end. But boy, this has been fun. I like you breaking the Mater Dei St. Francis thing there. Thank you. Hey, you did hard work on it. You deserve the props.
Yeah, it'll be public probably in the next hour or two if all goes well. All right, so again, Jeff, we're only September 22nd too. The season is only 5 weeks old right now, or not 4 weeks old. So let's go to the following weekend. There's a great another game involving a California team that's traveling cross country. Mission Viejo is going to D.C. to play St. John's on September 23rd. That Saturday night after the Mater Dei St. Francis game.
I love this one. Mission Viejo, talk about a lengthy tradition, right? Albeit on the public side, great, long line of quarterbacks that have gone on into the league and all of that. I love that, and I love that it's a trip east. I know Coach Johnson would always like to go to Hawaii. Of course, he just wanted to get a nice trip to Hawaii, and I think, but I love this one here. It's good, and again, we all know how good St. John's is and will be and always will be, right?
Right. And you remember the last time Mission Viejo went eastbound on a plane, Don Bosco in their prime time really, really pounded them.
Yeah.
I think the final score was 35-7. Then the following year, Bosco went to Mission Viejo, and Mission Viejo won that rubber match at home.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Mission Viejo.
Yeah.
Lived right down the street from it. Saw a lot of games there during our time in California. So I'm interested to see that one.
Same here. You don't get it that often. You don't get a Cali public traveling far to play anybody. If Corona Centennial, if they had the financial means, they'd be doing it in a heartbeat, but they just don't.
Yeah.
Mission Viejo traveling across the country to go to D.C., it's a great game, and we're proud and we're blessed to have that game on Flow also. That's going to be one of our Flow games.
Yeah,
as well as, Mater Dei St. Francis is a Flow game. Glenville, IMG, we're hoping for a Flow game. IMG Ben Davis is a Flow game. Bergen Catholic Chaminade is a Flow game. St. Francis East St. Louis is a Flow game. We're working on IMG Thompson. Most of these games, more than half of these games we've reviewed so far, are going to be on the Flow Football channel in August and September. Again, the next weekend after that, the Saturday after that Mission Viejo St. John's game, St. John's is back in the spotlight September 29th. They will be traveling to visit, we talked about them earlier in this conversation, Massillon, Washington.
And again, Coach Moore, the only thing with Coach Moore is, right, because they have that great stadium, he wants to make sure he keeps those home games on the schedule. But again, I give St. John credit. I give all of those WCAC teams all the credit, right, for not being afraid to go on the road, and that'll be a dandy. By that time, I think Massillon will find out how good it is, right, and I think they're going to be good this year. They were number 26 last year in our poll. I think they're going to be highly ranked again this year, but that'll be a dandy because right now, at this point, you're halfway through the season, right, and you've worked out all the kinks. Now it's just let's go head to head and see who wins.
Yeah, Jeff, and again, Coach Moore knows. Look who he's scheduling. He knows he's going to have a good team. He's hosting Valdosta. He's hosting St. John's. He's also hosting the top team from Delaware. That's not a bad team in Middletown.
Yeah, true.
So he knows he's got something special going on in 2023, and kudos to him for stepping up. You just don't see of late the state of Ohio doing things like this, and that's great from Massillon. I appreciate what they're doing. All high school football fans around America appreciate what they're doing. Between those games, we got St. Ed's hosting Good Counsel. They're also playing Center Grove, which is an okay game. Would I like more the GCL team stepping up next year? Yeah, but you know what? Moeller played Good Counsel last year, beat him in Ironton. That was an awesome game. So yeah, but we're getting there with Ohio. We're getting there. Back in the good old days with the Herb Street Classic, we'd see a lot of Ohio teams showcasing themselves against solid competition. It's starting to come back now, and that's a great thing for all of us.
Yeah, I remember going to I forget what it was. I think it was the second year of the Herb Street, and saw a lot of great games there.
Mm-hmm.
Poly was in Canton.
Right.
I remember Buford came up. Yeah.
St. Thomas Aquinas, right? Wasn't
Yep.
St. Thomas Aquinas
I think so.
there at one point? Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the Duncanville Coach Samples, wherever he came from. Where was it? Skyline? Where did he come from? Dallas, Carter, Skyline.
Skyline.
Yeah. I mean, he went one time. I mean, so it's good. That's why we're putting on these events all over America. We're bringing them back, to make sure that the best can play the best, and a lot of these times get the game broadcast to a national audience so the world could see what it's like to watch high school football at the highest elite levels.
No doubt.
All right,
Close out with a good
game
one.
of our chart. Close out with a good one. I'm kind of upset. We talked about this. The entire month of October, nothing made this list, which I got to work on for next year. We always know August and September before league play starts, all these great interstate matchups arise and they take place. But the month of October, we have to just skip over right now. We'll go right to November 17th. And if both of these teams are undefeated, this will be the de facto national championship game based on who they're playing earlier in the season.
Right.
We're going to have St. Francis again, November 17th, visiting IMG in Bradenton to close out Flow football schedule.
That's pretty darn good, Joe. You deserve a couple of days of rest, no doubt about that. That's all. And since you didn't do the top 10, we only have a few more minutes to go here. I mean, out of all of those, I think you've kind of said it, but if you had to say, and I have a 1A and 1B, I guess, but what's your top game on the list you just went through?
Oh, the top game right now, and I'd have to say, I'll tell everybody right now in the world who's listening, Matter Day is going to be my preseason number one. On the National High School Football.com poll, they're going to be preseason number one. I mean, I announced it earlier last year for St. Francis. I'll do it again this year. So I'd have to say 9/22 Matter Day in Baltimore at St. Francis is my top game.
Yeah, well, like I said, I had an A and B, and again, take it and just reverse it at any time of day. I mean, Modern Day St. Francis, that one's going to be a dandy, and then St. Francis Bosco. I mean, you've got the national championship, kind of in there, and like you said, IMG can sneak in there. They were our 2020 champs, still getting a lot of heat on that one, but hey, they during COVID they played the toughest schedule in the nation and they won all of them. So it's going to be a fun year. There's no doubt about that, yeah. Joe. Congratulations on the hard work and putting that together. Let people know before we go away here the best way to get in touch with you. 2023 mostly is in the books. I guess some teams might be looking here and there, but what's the best way to kind of get on your list and get taken care of, especially for those teams that have trouble finding games?
Well, we have two sites for head football coaches and athletic directors. We have prepgridironlogistics.com, where you could just go in there, let us know what date, what week you have open, and we'll press a button and then send you a list of all the other teams in America that share your same need. And for fans, fans in Georgia, Texas, Ohio, Florida, California, and you want to debate with other fans about who the best teams are in the country or if your state's better than their state, we have nationalhighschoolfootball.com, and that's nationalhsfb.com, which is our fan site. So between those two sites, we take care of both target audiences. We take care of the ADs and head coaches looking for open games and want to go to desirable destinations and travel the world and make memories. And then we have for the fans who want to debate about their favorite teams and go at it in that respect. We have nationalhsfb.com.
And you can go on there and jab Joe, folks, if you want to. He's got big shoulders. Yeah, you can take a pop out of
that's what
too.
It's all about. Listen, Jeff, we live in America. You know me, I'm a proponent of anybody who has an opinion. Whether I like it or not, I will honor that. I will debate them, and that's what makes our world go round.
It sure does. There's no doubt about that. Well, Joe, this has been a lot of fun. Always enjoy this time of year. It gets people thinking about it. It's just before the draft. It's a perfect time to do it. And again, congratulations for doing that. I know, folks, as Joe finalizes every game on Flow at highschoolfootballamerica.com, we will have that up. And Joe, just again, thanks. We'll talk again, obviously, before the season, but congratulations on helping grow the sport of high school football in America.
My pleasure. Thank you. I'm just continuing what you started, and with the two of us doing it, the sport has a promising future.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Thanks, Joe.
Take care, Jeff.
And that's the High School Football America podcast, brought to you by NFL Play Football. Coaches, don't forget to check out playfootball.nfl.com for some great resources to help you improve in the coaching profession. I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, and you've been listening to the HSFA podcast.